The United States' second largest stock exchange, the NASDAQ, has been considering opening an additional US-based regional stock exchange for a number of years. Currently, all of its US-based exchanges are in the Northeast, making expansion to other parts of the US desirable. The future regional exchange would be home to travel and hospitality stocks. The exchange already hosts a number of hospitality stocks, including Marriott, Airbnb, Expedia, United Airlines, and American Airlines, but is hoping to add big players like Hilton, Choice Hotels, Delta Airlines, and Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is a personal favorite of many Verde Beach residents, since it's already a hub here at Mulligan International Airport. The board of directors of NASDAQ has identified Verde Beach as their ideal location for this regional exchange and begin searching for a suitable location for the exchange. The ideal location would be dense, with excellent access to high-quality public transit and direct access to both the airport and the Hamilton Jetty and the surrounding tourism sites. In today's episode, we'll build this new stock exchange by thoughtfully redeveloping a few blocks of downtown Verde Beach. We'll focus on ensuring the area has high-quality multimodal connections, including the requested connections that were mentioned earlier. We'll replace any housing that we demolish and ensure that employees of the exchange have excellent plazas to escape to on their lunch breaks. And since Verde Beach is a classy city, we're going to do our best to make sure that the assets don't look too cheesy and place a couple of those absolutely wonderful little banks all around the community. And if you like the idea of Verde Beach becoming a financial hub, hit the like button. And if you aren't so sure, hit the like button too for the sake of engagement. Before we jump in, I want to check in with Philip with 2Ls to see how he's doing on his New Year's resolutions. Philip with 2Ls and I don't have much in common, but we are trying to get healthier this year. Philip has decided to get beefy calves and bike literally everywhere. But working out is only half of the equation. You have to think about what you're eating too, which is where today's video sponsor, Factor, comes in. Fitness starts with food, and Factor makes it possible to achieve your daily goals through nutritious, purposeful eating. All of their meals are dietitian approved, and they're also delicious, or my plate wouldn't look like this. And making their meals is simple. Factor cuts out the stressful meal planning and extensive prep work, so meals come together in minutes. Meals are pre-prepared and ready to eat in 2 minutes or less. That's faster than takeout. And with a rotating weekly menu of more than 27 meal options and 33 add-ons like smoothies, keto shakes, desserts, and more, you'll never be short on variety. Philip's biking home to have a healthy Factor meal, and I'm thinking about joining him. If you want to be like Philip, please use my link or go to go.factor75.com and use code POGCPPJAN60 for 60% off your first box. Thanks so much to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach, and in this episode we are going to be building a brand new financial district using the Financial District's mini DLC. And I'm excited to do this because it's going to really change the character of a part of our downtown, and it gives us the opportunity to redevelop, which I think is always a fun and necessary thing to do in city skylines. So I've thought about a number of locations that could work well for this district. And really there's two, I think, that are ideally situated. One is right here. So the reason why this is good is we've got our bank building right here, but really it's the public transit access. So one of the key considerations for this particular stock exchange was proximity to public transit with direct connections to both the airport and our tourism district. So right here with direct access to our monorail and our metro system, we would have those connections. My main concern here is that we're on different modes. So if you needed to, for whatever reason, come from the airport and then you take the metro to get in, and then you transfer to your monorail to get over here, you're utilizing different modes of transportation. We've got to remember that now our monorail does not go to the airport. It ends right here. Editor Phil here, and I think it's important to point out that this metro stop doesn't actually go to the airport either, so we'd need to make some adjustments to be able to get to the airport from that stop. I think that that's a little bit confusing, or it can be confusing or intimidating for people who are not residents or active transit riders in the city. And for that reason, I think we're going to consider this area over here. Now, one of the things that I love about this is it has a history of being a financial district already, or a history of honoring finance. We've got our 50-cent memorial statue over here already. Now, both districts have one key concern and consideration, and that is that there is a lot of residential in both locations. So right here in this area, I think we're going to be and basically end up taking out these 6 blocks right here to make this work, which means that we're eliminating a lot of residential. We've also got a hospital here, a high school, an elementary school, and then again, of course, we've got this statue. So There's a lot of residential, but not nearly as much as we would need to take out over here to make this work, considering there are no city service buildings available. And actually, there's a little spot here. We'll fill that in so we get another building. Over in this location, we could potentially remove this hospital and find a way to consolidate our hospital operations, adding some of the high density buildings that we received with our plazas and promenades DLC. So because we're going to be dezoning a whole bunch of residential over here, we're going to need to think about adding additional residential elsewhere. So we're going to look over to this area, and you see that our density has already been creeping this way as it is. We're going to dezone and rezone just our residential in this area and increase the density. And one of the things I'm noticing over here that's interesting me is that we already have a high school in this area, but the high school layout isn't great. So we've got this high school right here, and I think that we're going to dezone this block. We're going to call a mulligan on what we've done over here, because whenever I see something like this where there's just a high school that's been plopped somewhere, it makes me think that I was just responding to game mechanics and not really thoughtfully building a city. So we're going to thoughtfully build a city, and we're going to eliminate this high school, and this is where we'll put in our high capacity high school. And then we'll add a pedestrian connection through here so that folks can get around. And I know that the high capacity high school has a lot of the facilities that you would think of with a traditional high school right inside of this facility, or at least I'm guessing based upon the fact that there's a kind of an outdoor space up top, and the elementary school itself has the playgrounds built in. So why wouldn't this have like a field house within there? But we're still going to add in some of these amenities over here anyway. What do we like more? Do we like tennis or basketball? Maybe neither, and instead we go for a pool. It is Verde Beach after all. It would seem to be the type of amenity that would work really well right here. And then in the rest of this area, we'll have some high density residential. So there are a few terrain challenges here. We're just going to load this up with flowers and then not worry about it too much. I think we're going to be fine. And then behind the high school, we could add a whole bunch of stuff and try to load it up, but I think that that's the wrong choice. And here's why. When you add lots of density, I feel like you need to preserve some green space for people to feel one with the little bit of nature that they have left. So we're going to add one nice tree, and then I'm going to add some tables back here just so that some students, if they wanted to come and study back here or have lunch or just hang out with their friends, they've got a place to do that. And to me, that's humanizing. So I think it's a good call. I like that a lot. I think this is a good location for this, and this isn't necessarily filling in just yet, but we are about to dezone a whole bunch of residential, so we are going to make up for what we're about to do. So right here, we're back in our district, and everything in this area has got to go. So we're going to dezone all the way back to this high school, and we will eliminate the high school as well. And even the path network through here, we're going to get rid of this. The main reason we're going to do that is we are going to level this whole area out. We're going to rebuild all the streets. Likely it's going to look similar to what we already have here, but it's going to change the elevation dramatically. We're also going to need to rebuild an elementary school, death care, and a new hospital at some point throughout the build as well. And there we are. We have a clean palette to work with. Let's look at our contours because I think it's going to get messy. Yeah. So we are going to need to do a lot of leveling. And I think at a site like this, the very first thing you would see is the grading of the site, making it flat so it's easy to work with. And then afterwards, sloping things out to make things fit appropriately. So that's what we're going to do. We'll find a reasonable contour. Maybe this one right here, actually. And yes, I know this looks crazy. We're not going to keep it like this. We are going to slope things out as things develop throughout here. And we're going to temporarily relocate Fiddy. And the way that we'll do that is we'll create this little carve out down here. This is absolutely temporary. I want to work this into the site and make this a prominent feature of this development. The only thing I'm thinking, this is not a primary street through here. This is. So I am going to steal this height and drop this down probably about 2 meters. It's not much, but it's enough that it will make this entry point into here feel a lot more natural. And we are going to come in off this collector and focus on this as the gateway into this area. And on that note, let's add in our first street. And one thing I want to focus on and pay attention to is this is a part of our bike network. So we are going to need to reestablish this as a bicycle connection. Even if we don't have a road going all the way through here, we need to have this on our bicycle network. And then I'm going to add this as well. Now, we're going to add in our stock exchange that's under our unique buildings. And now we have this new financial buildings tab. We'll click on our stock exchange and place this. Now, we could play Wall Street Bet Simulator if we want to, but I'm not super interested in that. There's a way around it. And the way is fairly simple. We are going to go into our economy and we are going to turn our budget for our industries all the way down. And then we'll go into our brand new investments tab. And then what we'll see is that some of our industries, including our farming industry, forestry industry, and gasoline industry, the value of the stocks will plummet. Look at this, down 60%, down 44%. That is perfect. Perfect for us to buy it. And we will max out. And it's going to be a good thing because we're going to need the extra money. Ooh, it rebounded. Oh, that's import based. So that is maybe a little bit less desirable for us. We'll get our ore industry as well. And now we are broke. So what we need to do is go ahead and really boost these industries. So there we go. We spent all the money on these. And now let's look at our investments and look at all of that money that we've made. And this is the only way that this mechanic works. Make money, you get to level up. So now we've leveled up. Let's look at our budget. We'll return this back to the normal levels. And we have made millions of dollars in just a few seconds. The big thing that we care about is the ability to upgrade, and we have now unlocked our bronze cow and our bronze panda statues and our bank because we've reached level 2. And this is kind of like the bull and the bear market. That's a symbol of the stock market in America. I want to know, is that a symbol of the stock market where you live? If it is, drop me a comment. If it's not, drop me a comment for that too. And now we can upgrade again. Level 3 gets us the large bank and the elevated plaza. We're going to absolutely work those into the build. And then we can upgrade again. And that gets us our underground garden plaza and our skyscraper bank. Very interested in both of these as well. The ground garden plaza in particular is going to be across from our stock exchange. It's going to look really nice. And then we get our international trade building at level 5. This is actually a really attractive looking skyscraper. And I say actually because we've actually unlocked this monstrosity, which is not great. I don't like the scents on top. It's pretty gaudy. And though I do like the way that some of the buildings that came with this pack look, this is not one of them that I like the look of. So we are going to eliminate this now. I don't care that we've lost all of our progression. I'm never using the progression again. I just wanted to get the buildings unlocked, and we have done that. So now I'm going to scoot this building over a bit and start to think about the layout. Now we have our nice looking stock exchange again. So there we go. And then we'll place this plaza, and there's a little bit of funky stuff happening in the corner here. So I'll move it over, but I'm going to scoot this over as well then. And I'm okay with these buildings having a little bit of space around them. And for this block right here, we're going to have some financial buildings and likely a row all the way around this as well, just to give it that real financial vibe. Now through here, you can see that this will line up well if we do things appropriately. We are going to make our connection here. And then through here, I think we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do something a little different though, and have a connection right into this road right here. The reason why I'm okay with this is there's not a lot of traffic on this collector. It's kind of operating as a minor collector, but we've got a severe lack of connectivity in some parts of the city, and establishing an extra roadway connection through here is not the worst thing in the world. We've got this, and I want to think about our other assets that we're getting with this. We've got our bronze panda and our bull. And I mentioned that this is the gateway into this area. And I do think there would be value in placing both of these in our gateway location. So as you're coming in here, you see these statues, really symbolic of what this area is. It is our financial district. And then we also have our elevated plaza. Now this is an asset that looks pretty terrible if it's not on flat ground. So we'll place that here. This is going to make this difficult, truthfully. We might need to actually back this off a little bit because we've got to slope this down and make some sort of connection back here. So that's what we'll do. We'll taper from here on down, and that'll look just fine. And then we have 50 to contend with. And I think 50 is going to go right here. And if we place this appropriately, we'll have that big slope over here again. We'll need to add some landscaping to deal with this. Truthfully, this should be a retaining wall, but we can't do it in any reasonable way in vanilla. So we'll need to come up with some sort of resolution here. And then with that, let's slope this down so we can make some roadway connections. We right mouse click our top height. And we have to, well, first of all, we make sure that our brush strength is high. Right mouse click up here, left down here, and slope this right up. And that is a steep road. Don't get me wrong. I know it is. We'll do the exact same thing here. And then I'll make sure that the 50 statue is not crazy slopey. And then let's make our connections through here. Now remember, this is a bicycle network road. So I'm going to make our connection here. And I'm going to use these new roads that we have with the trees in the center. I think that they look very nice. And we'll do the exact same thing around here. I don't want a bunch of cars parked in front of the stock exchange buildings. To me, that seems strange. So we will just completely forego that. And again, we're going to have public transit in this area anyway. So I don't want to encourage a ton of parking and cars and things of that nature through here. And then we've got one more connection to make, and that's right here. Right mouse click here, left click here, slope this up. Oh yeah, that's looking good. And then for everything else around here, we will just feather out the terrain with our soften terrain tool, come in with a bigger brush and just really hit this hard. That's the stuff right there. It's our transition zone away from what we're doing over here and into the rest of our neighborhood. So we're building this on a hill. Now I don't want to lose track of our transit either. So I want to place that right off the bat. I do think it would be fun to use one of our new underground metro stations. What this is going to allow us to do is have a connection here that it's not a through connection. It will force a transfer at the stock exchange, but we can loop these both back around and have easy connections into our stations. And I'm just going to take care of this right away so we don't forget about it and lose track of it. Okay, so on this outside station, we're going to drop this down and we'll run this straight for a little while to get some speed. And then we'll turn this right away. And I want to come in right here and then meet up with this track. Now, there's not a lot of space right here. I wonder if it actually makes more sense to attempt to come in and connect right up right away. Yeah, I think that's probably going to make more sense. So we'll get rid of this, back this out just a bit. And that does the trick. Now, this other one is going to be considerably easier. We're going to make a new connection. So right here, we've got this center terminal that is actually unused right now. So we are going to connect into this and then go straight in over here in our secondary station. And then with this the other end of this, we will add in a connection over here. And what I think we're going to do is try to, at the Hamilton experience, add another subway connection. Maybe we'll just place this right across the street from the other one. And this will be one of those that people look at and they go, why is this here? Why is there another line here? And it is all because this is how they get the stock exchange. There we go. Now let's make that route a thing. So we'll add a stop here and add one here and then go straight back. And then we'll do the exact same thing here. And I just made the mistake of trying to finish the line at the wrong terminal at that station. I will come back and fix that by the end of the episode. So this one's going to go all the way to the airport. Ooh, and it does not go all the way to the airport. So we are going to need to create an additional connection through here. So the way that we'll do that is we'll add a bridging connection through here. And now that we've got that, we should be able to easily make this route. And I don't want there to be any stops in between. The goal is, again, to get people back and forth from the airport to our new financial district. It's really the CEO's line. So there we go. Looking very good. And at the end, we'll check out our ridership to see how those are doing. So now we've got our little district and it's the bones of it. We need a lot more, but I think we're moving in a good place. So let's think about some of our pedestrian connectivity through here. And what we're going to do is get rid of our snap twos and have just angle on. And this would be an excellent place to have a pedestrian connection for a couple of reasons. We've already got this path right here that goes across this collector. And why wouldn't we want to take advantage of that if we could? So I'm going to go as far back as I can. And then we'll add a connection back here. And I want to have the road guidelines on so I can meet up nicely with this. Connect right back in, and then the same thing here. It's a pretty complicated, convoluted pedestrian network. And we'll put some decorations around here to make it look a little bit nicer. I like that enough. Yeah, actually, we're gonna get rid of this. This is a legacy bridge, and I don't see the necessity of connecting into it. Truthfully, this bridge could probably be demolished if it weren't for it already existing. So we will leave that as is. I also want to have a connection coming down. We have this road that was here, and we're not going to reconnect that road, but I do think there is value in the connectivity through here for pedestrians. So we'll right mouse click up here, left down here, slope this up. And then while we're over here, let's feather this out as well. Get rid of some of the lumpies and bumpies. There we go. Good enough. Now through here, I want to have some decorations and landscaping and think about this. And actually, this is another spot where some pedestrian connectivity might look nice and work and function well. Not necessary. Obviously, there are sidewalks, but we'll clean it up a little bit. And then we can add some landscaping around here. Okay, and then through here, we're going to have a whole bunch of our high vegetation. I think it's a suitable way to fill in some of these, prevent erosion, things of that nature. The other thing we could do is have some sort of thick tree. Maybe we'll do a mixture of both. Thick trees, not thick tree. The one thing is these don't always terraform the best. And I could also do some sort of rock wall. That would be the other option. But I think I'm good kicking this old school, and we will try to make this look a little bit nicer with some jacarandas going up and down here. There we go. I like that. It makes it feel like it's a little bit more purposeful back here. And then through this area, I again want some more vegetation. I think that we're going to try to make this feel a little less tropical and a little bit more stately back here though. So we'll throw in some oak trees. And then in the middle of here, I want to have a little bit of a plaza that we could have some sort of food truck or something of that nature to provide a really nice amenity for the workers back here. This could be a place where, you know, you get away from all the yelling on the trading floor. And then we didn't do anything with the trees back here. So I'll finish out our young lindens, and then I think that we need to do something better through here. So while we're looking at it, let's go with something, and it's Verde Beach. We're gonna have some palm trees. There we go. And I decided to kind of switch it up. There's a little bit of a conflict here. It's one of those things that doesn't really matter, but it just bugs me. So I was thinking about going with something different, but I'm settling on just not letting perfect be the enemy of good. We are going to be fine with this. A little bit of poking through there. And I love that we can already see some of that pedestrian activity through here. That's why we've done all of this. We want this to really feel like a special place that you would want to walk through. Even if you're not going directly to these buildings, it should be a place that you're not uncomfortable to be in. So there we go. Feels like a real monument to finance. There is a weird optics thing here, in my opinion. We've got the center of government right next to our center of finance. And, you know, no corruption. Anyway, we've used all of our unique buildings except for our international trade building. And I don't think that we're just going to spam this one in. So the real benefit of the financial DLC, the stock exchange, and this international trade building is in this area, this radius that's impacted by this building. If you have financial buildings growing in, they have enhanced tax bonuses around here. So you see where that is, that area right here. And if we place this absolutely perfectly, we could really maximize this benefit if we wanted to have a gigantic financial district. Now, I think that we're going to do a couple of blocks here and there, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's add a small financial district though. And the way that you do this is we're going to D-zone right here, or D-district, and add a new district. We need a name for this district. So in the comments, if you have a district idea for a name, please let me know. And then we'll go into here and we'll add in a financial office building specialization. So for any of the office buildings that are around here, which there aren't a ton, there's a couple right here, these will convert over. Now I am going to change some of these. So we'll go back maybe 4 tiles and convert these to be offices. And then right here, I'm actually going to remove these. I think it looks kind of crazy, truthfully, to have a bunch of little offices behind there. And there we go. That'll be about the extent of our little area on that side. Over here, I think we're going to do something very similar. And there we go. So these are going to be where our financial district, financial buildings are. And we're going to reserve this because I want to add some banks in. So the banks are found underneath the police department and banks tab, which I know is really bizarre, but it really speaks to how the banks operate. So these are actually kind of police protection sort of buildings. So we got a small bank, a large bank, and then a skyscraper bank. But the way that these operate is they have cash vans, and it reduces the crime in the area that the cash vans serve. So, and it's only for commercial buildings. So you can see already that all of the red buildings are commercial buildings that are not currently served by cash vans. So we are going to add in one of our towers to start out with, and we'll add that fairly close to the edge here. And I might need to do some terracing to make this work, but I want to add this down here, and then we'll come up with the solution over here later, the exact opposite way that it happens in real life. And the reason why is the architecture of this building would likely be worked into the site, not the site being flattened to make the building work. But it is a game. We take some liberties. So I'm going to flatten this out, and then we are going to do something to make this look a little bit nicer. And this time around, I want to try something I haven't tried before. And I'm going to load this up with flowers to make it seem like there's just a giant wall of flowers back here. And then if that doesn't look great, we'll put some vegetation underneath it. But I think it might look neat to have flowers all the way around here. Oh, and I've created my own personal hell in City Skylines. I have mentioned before, I'm allergic to bees. And yeah, there would be bees here, just a couple. You might not believe it, but I actually love gardening. And that's a part of gardening is bees. But I don't love it. I don't love that part of it. We'll have a path back here, though, so that people who do love all the flowers and all the bees can admire them. And we'll even give them a couple of spots to sit down and take a look at that wall of flowers. And then we'll add some of these generic date palms around here just to line this out and really make it feel well-rounded. Now, there's one thing that I want to really emphasize that we've been doing all build long, and that is giving these buildings space. We are in downtown, but we don't need to shove all of the buildings everywhere super close to one another. You can have a little bit of space, especially if the buildings that you're placing are high density or of high value generally. And that's what we're looking at here. So we're giving green space and humanizing this area and making it feel like a place where, you know, you could see the sun. And I don't think that's a bad thing. So we're going to go with it. Now, one thing that might be a bad thing in some of your minds are the way that these buildings look. So I know that these are polarizing buildings. What you see is that on the bottom, they're kind of historic looking. And then on top are these super modern towers with what almost looks like handles. It's kind of interesting. But this is kind of what you see in some of the financial districts in Chicago, in New York City. You see that the facade of the front of the building has been preserved, and a modern glass tower goes on underneath or on top of it. And that's air rights. And I really appreciate that this is occurring. I think it's an interesting way of redeveloping these sites. And I like that this is something that the developers are thinking about. So I'm all here. I'm here all for it. So we're going to embrace this. That said, you do get some weird things if it's not a perfectly square site like this. It's pretty ugly. So we're going to try to fix this. So let's get rid of that and see why this is occurring. Yeah, it's this. It's not perfectly straight. We're focusing on the wrong road. So we'll add a fence here, and that will change our focus over to this road. That said, it's not perfect, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be completely fine. We're going to deal with the same thing over here, truthfully. And just to preempt that, we are going to add in a fence all the way along here. And that does mean that our density will be lower, but I think it's going to be okay. And to make this look a little bit more intentional and planned, we are going to add some spaces in between the buildings so that we can have some pedestrian facilities. And then we'll snap to our grid, send these right up. And for this particular one, we very well may need to use our self-leveling paths if it looks really bad, which it might. That doesn't look great. So let's upgrade these and see what this looks like with self-leveling paths. I wouldn't say that that's a ton better. So we're just going to need to forgive a bit of imperfection and potentially remove a couple of these more wonky paths. This is just one of those instances where it might be unavoidable and we have to cover up some of our imperfections with landscaping and forgive ourselves for not having a perfectly perfect build in this location. And it's fine. It happens. There we go. It's not perfect, but it's going to be perfectly fine for us. And we did eliminate a path here, so I will again add in some trees and a bit of landscaping just to hide the lumpy and bumpy cliff textures that just look brutal. And then I love these jacarandas because they really do a great job of hiding some of the madness because of how big and colorful they are. So I am utilizing them heavily through here just to cover up some of the ugliness. And I think that looks pretty darn good, and I am pleased with it. Now, I do want to add one more thing back here, and that is a little food truck plaza. I think that would be really appreciated in an area like this. We'll go into our plazas and promenades assets, and we can grab some of the textures that we have, like these sandstone pavers. And here's where I wish that prop line tool was built into the game natively, because this is really not, this is one of those things that's just not fun. You know? So you've got to be really careful with these, because if you don't get it perfect, it'll look terrible. This spot down here, there's that little seam I don't love. And now we can basically do whatever we want here. And I think what we want to do is have a fountain in the middle, and then we want to have some food trucks around here, some benches for seating, and then some landscaping gently around here as well. And I thought it might be nice to get rid of that fountain and see if there's something a little more modern that we could put in here. Something with just a little bit more visual flair. And then I also want to make sure that we have some of our recycling containers. And then around here, I want to add just a bit of landscaping. Okay, and this isn't necessarily a thick wall of landscaping around here, but it's something to frame the area out. And I do think that framing a space out like that does make it feel more like a place that you can sit in. There's been many studies that have shown that the presence of some sort of framing mechanism makes people feel a little more comfortable than a wide open field. So it makes it a bit more inviting. And you can even really formalize this with a fence. It just feels more intimate this way. And the very last thing I want to do is probably, I'm kind of diving into the weeds of unnecessariness now, but you know who I am and this is what I do. Let's add in some lighting as well. There we go. And there's just a lot of stuff here. Maybe it could be better. I think it's fine though. Let's bring it back to day, and we've got a few more things that we have to do. So our population was about 185,000 before the episode. And truthfully, we're right about back there. We're a little bit below than we were, but nothing to write home about. And what I want to look for now is we have an elementary school that we need to replace. We have a hospital that we need to replace. And then we also have some death care that we need to replace. So let's start out with our elementary school. And I'm seeing that we have one right here, which is not all that far from where we were before. But over here seems to be our biggest concern. So what I think we're going to do is eliminate this elementary school in favor of one of our high capacity elementary schools. And this is approximately the same height, or not height, but this is approximately the same width. And I'm not going to add any amenities because you can see that there's already a playground built into this. So I think that that's good enough. We will jazz up this block eventually. I want to go block by block. I've mentioned this a bunch of times. I want to go block by block and really make this feel like we've been very intentional all the way through here. And this is kind of a symbol for me, putting the landscaping here, that we've looked at this block and thought about it. And then finally, we need to think about our hospital and our death care. So let's see where we have a hospital, another hospital. Created a bit of a donut. I guess we have one here, and that might be our closest one. We've got clinics and different facilities, but this is kind of concerning. I'm going to place it here and hope that it covers this entire area, but that we might need to add a medical clinic as well to cover this. So the capacity won't be a problem. And we've eliminated some single family homes in this area. I'm not all that concerned about that. We can make up for most of it by increasing the density around the edges just a bit. My bigger concern is that this doesn't reach far enough. So let's take a look and see our coverage. We've got a small donut right here without coverage. So that is concerning. I'm going to look at our land uses and see if, it's almost all residential. We'll take an office building here and we will convert that to a clinic. And that should do the trick. We place that off our local road so that we are not prioritizing ambulances directly onto our collector. It'll help with our traffic flow in the future. So that should be helpful. And that does at least provide some coverage everywhere here. And then the last thing we have to worry about is our death care. And though we eliminated some death care right here, there's still quite a bit in the area. What I want to do is find one of these just normal crematoriums, and we will replace it with a cryopreservatory. And the reason why I think that that will do the trick is this provides additional vehicles and a patient capacity of 120 versus 105. So we're getting right now, if we take a look at this, this has 7 hearses. And though this is bigger and takes out a large building, the height of realism, we get an extra 3 hearses. So we're splitting the difference a little bit, and we are going to call it a day. A little mulligan on that residential building there. So I think that we have made some absolutely splendid progress here. And I like this little district. It's a fun place. We've saved our 50-cent memorial statue, relocated it to an absolutely fantastic location that is flat, and created a little district around here that I think is really benefiting the city. We are also losing just a ton of money right now, and that might be something that we need to think about. So we will need to focus on our income though, not today, but in a future episode, because right now I think that we need to take inventory of what we've done, because I think we've done all right. And we'll have a brief city tour. Okay, and it's always nice to have a little city tour, but we've got a couple of things that we need to take care of. And the very first thing is I still need to take a look at this metro line. And I realize I don't think I actually finished drawing our lines here. In fact, we've got one line that goes to the airport, but where's the one that goes over here? We didn't make it. So we're going to add a stop downtown here, and then we'll add another one over at the Hamilton Experience and then send it straight back. And those will be our 2 lines. So let's take a look at our metro lines, and we've got metro line 19 and 20. 19 is Stock Airport, and metro line 20 will be Stock Hamilton. And they're both green. I kind of like that. Money. But we'll make them different color green. Now, I've already looked at Stock Airport, and what I see is we have too much capacity. So because we are going to be utilizing other lines through here, I don't want to send more vehicles out than we have to. I almost want to add in one of the highest capacity trains that we can, and then cut the capacity way, way down. Having 2 vehicles, I think, is going to be a really efficient way of ensuring that we aren't waiting a ton. And we've gone with this high capacity metro. The capacity of this, I believe, is 500, which is going to be beneficial for us. And then we'll take a look at our other line. I don't know how this one's going to do, but I'm going to change this to the same vehicle, and we'll cut it back if we have to. This one doesn't interact with any other lines, so it shouldn't be a big deal because it'll have wide open tracks, but that might make it very popular because it should be fast. So we will go with that there, and we'll have to see how that turns out. I'm going to increase the speed a bit so we can take a look at that at the very end. The other thing I want to take a look at is our bank buildings. I've added one of them, but we've got others to look at as well. And we're going to add a large bank building in the downtown area just so we can get a feel for it. And we will replace a commercial building, a lower density commercial building, with one of these. And it's right by this, which is not great. And the interesting thing about this is you can change the look and feel of the large bank buildings. So they're the only ones out of the bank buildings that you can change. But you can go through here, have this variation, which has the round top, the grabber top, and then this kind of pyramid top. I like the pyramid top the best. The round top reminds me of like old school Vegas, like when you go into downtown Vegas and you go to the old casinos. They kind of look like that to me. I don't like that. So the pyramid, maybe it reminds you of Memphis, but whatever, we're gonna go for it. Then we've got one of my favorite assets that came with this, and that's just a small bank building. And this to me feels like something that you could absolutely see in an area like the Garden City. So let's pop out of here and turn off A so that we don't have our automatic info views coming on. And we'll place this really close to our police department down here. And it kind of creates that Main Street vibe. I'm going to get rid of the zoning through here. And it's just a very attractive city bank building. So we're going to have to place these throughout the community if we want to receive the full benefit of this. Obviously, now we have good coverage here. And the ultimate benefit here is crime. It will impact our crime. Our crime is at 5 before this build. And the ultimate thing that this impacts these bank buildings is the crime level. We already had a very low crime rate before this build. We were at 5%. It just fell to 4. And I would assume that if we add this in a few more places, we could see the same benefit. We could add one down here, for instance, over in Karen's area. Place that right there. It seems like the place you'd expect to see it on the main street in the suburban area. So there we go. Oh, and I almost forgot. We've got to take a look at how our subway system is doing, and 229 riders here. Let's take a look at our lines that we have here. And what we're seeing is that the airport line has 80 passengers a week, Hamilton 15. I don't think that's the true story though. Yeah, we've got 93 people right here, 32 right there. This will only get more popular. And then going out to the Hamilton experience, not quite so many. I'd actually really love to place some hotels around here, but maybe we'll do that in a future episode. Feeling good about that. And I think we're going to have to leave it here. I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I've enjoyed bringing it to you. If you did, please consider hitting the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It is truly a privilege to bring these videos to you, and I appreciate your time. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.